Hello, my name is David Rodriguez, and today we're going to be going over tricking and energy systems and how it all works together. I'll be going over three specific ideas or three specific training scenarios. So one, I'm going to refer to Loop Kicks 2019. Will also be the battle specifically, and then I'll be referring to gatherings, at least from my perspective that I've had, gathering as a whole, and then I'll be going over general training that you would do at your home gym. So let's get to it. However, we're going to go over a quick anatomy and physiology lesson for those of you who don't know what your energy systems are. So the body has three different energy systems. You have your ATP-PC, you have your glycolytic, and you have your aerobic system. Now, whenever you're doing any sort of activity, all three of these energy systems are going to activate at once. Never in an activity are you ever going to have one single energy system isolated. What will happen though is that depending on the activity that you're doing, one energy system does have a more dominant, or has a more effect over it than the other two. However, all three work together in conjunction with each other. So the first energy system that I want to go over is your ATP-PC system. This is your high intensity system. This is the system that you're using for whenever you're doing any kind of explosive power or movement. So things like similar to tricking, right? So if you're going to throw a huge banger, if you're doing double corks, triple corks, any kind of double, or even if you're a beginner, right, and it's rough for you, even your single folds, that's whenever you're using your ATP-PC system. That is your hardest, most intense stress that you're putting on your body is when you're using your ATP-PC system. It only lasts for 10 to 12 seconds because it depletes the glycogen that is stored in your muscles, and then once that happens, it can't really pull from anything else. It has to wait until your glycolytic and or your aerobic system kicks in to help your body fill in for it. So now, moving on, right? So once this depletes, this is your glycolytic system kicks in. Now, after 10 to 12 seconds, in untrained individuals, and some say it goes up to 30 seconds, then your glycolytic system kicks in. So this is for like middle of the road activity. So for 1 to 2 minutes, again, of intensity, this system also does not use oxygen. Now, this is kind of where all the whole more advanced stuff starts going, like Krebs cycle, things like that, but that's not important for this video. I'm talking more about the energy systems in general. So you have your fast glycolytic, which only lasts for, again, right, for 1 to 2 minutes, no oxygen. Then you have your slow glycolytic. So this is whenever you're doing things for like a 30-minute stair-stepping workout or a 30-minute jog. This is kind of where your glycolytic system then your slow glycolytic system starts to kick in. After that, then your aerobic system kicks in. Now, it's in the name, right? So aerobic system uses oxygen. This energy system allows you to go for hours at a time. This is the energy system that is used for marathons, things of that nature. So it's going to be sort of a low intensity but long duration, right? So again, all three of these energy systems are used in conjunction with each other, but the aerobic system is kind of what helps you. And then, so for individuals who aren't who aren't training for marathons, your aerobic system can also help you recover. So that way, it takes all your lactate that you produce from your glycolytic system, breaks it down, turns it back into pyruvate, blah blah blah, and then it helps you turns everything back into ATP. So your ATP-PC system and your glycolytic system can start firing again. So how does this all relate to tricking? So I'm about to get to that. So how do tricking and these energy systems all relate to each other? So when we look at determining which energy systems are applied to a sport, we look at one of two things. Primarily, we look at work rate, power output, and intensity. And then the second thing that we look at is duration of the activity. So going over each of these three training scenarios first, going with loop kicks. So if we look at loop kicks 2019 and the way they did their battle system, it was the best 2 out of 3 with 1 minute rounds. Now, the way that I saw it go was that typically competitor A would get 1 pass, B would get his 1 pass, and then A would also get another pass. Typically, the time constraint of 1 minute only allowed for this kind of model. Very rarely did the second person get a second pass, but then whenever they went to the judges made their decision, it flip-flopped. So then person B got 1 pass, person A got a pass, and then person B got a second pass, and then person A didn't get another pass. And so typically most of the decisions were made back to back. Most of the winners won back to back, I noticed. Rarely did it ever go to round 3. Now, looking at how the durations of the tricking passes, right? So the longest tricking pass at Loop Kicks 2019 averaged 14 seconds by Alex Scott. The shortest duration tricking pass was done by Andrew Court. His was only 5 to 6 seconds. The winner of Loop Kicks 2019 was Aiden Kennedy. His was around 8.5 to 9.5 seconds. Now, the secondary criteria, right, was duration. So if we look at that, all of those except for Alex Scott, all of those fall within an ATP PC system, right? 10 to 12 seconds, fast bursts. And especially with what they were competing for, you only get 1 minute. You're not just going to sit there and piddle around and throw your, like, maybe impressive tricks. You're going to go all out, right? So intensity, you're going to go all out for those judges for that, obviously depending on who you battle. So if it's 2 high-level trickers, they're probably going to be throwing out their most powerful stuff. They're throwing out their biggest tricks. So again, right, intensity, that's going to fall into, again, ATP PC system. Now, it might also transition, I have it right here, to fast glycolytic, just because at the finals of Loop Kicks 2019 between Court Corkson and Aiden Kennedy, they did it in more traditional style of battle, where I believe they got 3 minutes and they just got to throw passes back to back. Now, for your ATP, and the reason I say that is because for your ATP PC system to fully recover, it takes about, I believe the rest ratio is 1 activity to 5 to 8 minutes of rest. Now, obviously none of these competitors are getting 5 to 8 minutes, but especially for the best 2 out of 3, where they only get 1 minute, they do get a lot of rest to kind of just breathe, recover, blah, blah. However, for the finals, they didn't get that luxury. They got to, so Aiden Kennedy would get to rest during Court Corkson's passes. Court Corkson would get to rest during Aiden Kennedy's passes, and along with whatever time it took them to think of their passes. So, and especially in those more traditional styles of battle, you're going to have to be going back and forth, because you're not just going to sit there wasting your time trying to breathe. You're typically, people who end up throwing the most amount of passes accurately, clean technique, so on and so forth, are typically the ones who end up winning those battles. So I believe that it tends to fall more within, for battling, ATP PC and fast glycolytic. Now the second training scenario that I have is our gatherings in general, right? So gatherings always typically have an open gym session for hours, multiple hours, 4 to 5 hours of people just coming out, throwing down, doing whatever it is that they do. But it's also very dependent on what kind of tricker you are. So you might just like the gathering experience, and so you might throw your couple hard combos, and then you might just kind of go chill, experience the gathering. Other people might look at it as more of a training session and try and train right, throughout that whole entire hour, or throughout the whole gathering. So I feel that it tends to fall. So again, so if we look at kind of intensity and power output, work output for gatherings, and it's all dependent, right? So your highest level tricks might be somebody else's warm ups. Your warm up might be someone else's higher level tricks. So if you're out there throwing your highest level tricks, you're probably going to be falling more within your ATP, PC, fast glycolytic. You'll probably burn out fairly quickly if your aerobic system isn't well prepared to handle that kind of amount of tricking. Or if you're just kind of more of a combo guy, you kind of go out, throw some combos, you kind of pace yourself throughout the entire gathering, maybe take a couple breaks here and there. I think you probably end up falling more within this slow glycolytic, and you might even kind of edge into the aerobic system, right? So when we're looking at slow glycolytic and aerobic, we're kind of looking at medium intensity with long periods of training, similar to, again, right, gatherings. Now, our third and final training scenario is normal training in general, right? Again, this tends to be very dependent on what kind of tricker you are. So if you're chasing tricks and you're chasing big tricks, you're probably going to be falling more within ATP PC system, right? Because the intensity and the work output that you're doing to try and chase that high level trick is going to be very, very intense, especially if you've never landed it before, or if you have landed it and you're kind of like sketched out a little bit. Sometimes it's not completely consistent. You can land it maybe 1 out of every 5 or 1 out of 3 times, right? Now, or you kind of might be a dude who likes to pace himself. You really like combos, again, right? So due to, I know duration is a secondary condition, however, due to the time constraints of open gyms in general, most open gyms that I know of are only open for about 2 hours max. Unless you have a place that is very courteous to you and you have a very dedicated open gym where they kind of just let you come in, train wherever for however long. Most open gyms, for those of us, typically only last for about 2 hours. There's even one open gym that only lasts for 1.5 hours. So you really kind of have to cram what it is that you're wanting to train. You don't have a lot of time to be messing around unless that's just kind of, if that's your jam, no offense, I'm just saying for this training scenario, that's what it is. I believe that for training, whenever you are by yourself or with your homies, this can encompass all energy systems. Again, it's dependent, right? Chasing tricks, high level tricks, that's ATP PC system. If you're training combos, either longer combos, shorter combos with kind of, so you go, you do your combo, and then you kind of rest, review, look at it for 30 seconds, and you get back out there, you start training again. That's probably going to fall more within your, it starts transitioning to fast glycolytic, and then probably within an hour or so, 30, 45 minutes to an hour, you probably start transitioning into your slow glycolytic system. Or if you were kind of just going through, reviewing things, kind of taking your time, low intensity, you're just drilling specific moves, but you're obviously doing it kind of over a long period of time. The power output isn't super heavy. Then that's probably when you start to fall more within your aerobic, and you're doing it for the entirety of the training session, right? So if you're doing again, right, if you're cleaning things up or you're doing combos that you've already done before, you just want to make everything look sharper, or maybe you're adding something new, you're doing it throughout the whole training session, it's probably going to be falling more into your aerobic system. So this is, again, right, tricking is still, it's not necessarily new, but tricking is very dependent, much like any sport. These are just my opinions about what I believe these energy systems relate in terms of these training scenarios. Things can definitely change. If you have any ideas or thoughts, please let me know. Comment down below, or hit me up on Instagram at hotrod_intricate33. I'm more than happy to discuss this and discuss training. So speaking of that, I will also be having a small mini series about my own personal training. It'll just be a small vlog-esque video. So if you're interested in that, please check it out. And I hope you all have a good day.